Hi students, welcome to Pharma Syndrome YouTube channel. And today the discussion is on the nuclear receptors. So nuclear receptor discussion is like part 4. So already we completed part 1, part 2, part 3. That is regarding receptor pharmacology. Part 1 is ion channel receptors. Part 2 is G protein coupled receptors. Part 3 is enzyme linked or catalytic receptors. So these 3 parts of discussion is already in our channel is there. So please go through that videos. So after going through part 1, part 2, part 3, so you can easily understand the part 4 receptor pharmacology regarding the nuclear receptors. Okay, let's come into discussion. So the part 4 is nothing but the type 4 receptors here are nuclear receptors. So the nuclear receptors are also called as steroid receptors. Why? Because all steroidal molecules like glucocorticoids, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, mineralocorticoid, that is aldosterone, all the steroidal molecules interacts with the nuclear receptors for their biological action. That's why all steroidal molecules are involving here, so called as steroidal receptor or steroidal receptors. Next, intracellular receptors. So here the receptors are located within the cell. But if you observe the ion channel receptors, G protein coupled receptors, enzyme linked receptors, they are called as intercellular. Their location is in between the cells, but here within the cells. Okay, so nuclear receptor is only intracellular. Remaining all 3 receptors like ion channel, nothing but also known as ionotropic, second G protein, third enzyme linked or catalytic receptors, all 3 comes under the intercellular, but nuclear receptors are comes under the intracellular. And next, cytosolic receptors. Mostly remaining receptors location interacting up to plasma membrane only, but here the nuclear receptors location is within the cytosol. So that's why these are also called as the cytosolic receptors. And regarding the time scale, how these receptors are shows response. These receptors when bind by the steroidal hormones, they show response from days to the years. For example, some of the hormones may be delivered from days. It may be days in the form of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Especially drugs like oral contraceptives, they're useful for the family planning. Especially they can be release hormones continuously up to years also. So because of that, the time scale of the nuclear receptors is days to years. Okay. Next, so this is a simple introduction regarding the nuclear receptor. This is a simple introduction regarding the nuclear receptor. And this is a signal transduction of a nuclear receptor. This is a signal transduction of a nuclear receptors. How? So like signal transduction, the G protein coupled receptors, here also signal transduction. And here we are already telling that the ligand molecules are steroidal molecule. Here one of the ligand molecules here is testosterone. The active form of testosterone is the dihydrotestosterone. The active form of testosterone is dihydrotestosterone. So here from the endocrine glands, from endocrine system, the hormone released into the bloodstream. From the bloodstream, the testosterone is entering into the cells. The testosterone is entering into the cells. So especially after entering into the cells, the testosterone is converts to active form of testosterone, that is DHT, dihydrotestosterone, with help of an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase enzyme. With help of an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase enzyme. So after conversion, this active form, this is interact with the receptor. So here initially receptors are inactive in nature. So AR means androgen receptor. AR means androgen receptor. What is androgen? Testosterone is also called as androgen. That's why the receptors are called as androgen receptors or testosterone receptors. So when ligand is binding here, so there is the receptor is converted to the active form. The inactive androgen receptor or testosterone is converted to active form when there is a binding of active form of testosterone, DHT, dihydrotestosterone. So here there is a formation of a complex between the receptor as well as ligand. That is, the ligand is here testosterone. So after formation of a complex, this complex, that is drug receptor complex, ligand receptor complex, enter into the nucleus. That's why These receptors are called as nuclear receptor. So once there is a formation of complex between the drug as well as receptor, the complex is interacting with the nucleus. The complex is interacting with the nucleus. Especially here there is a interaction with the DNA. Here there is a interaction with the DNA. Especially the DNA contain zinc finger proteins. The DNA is contain zinc finger proteins. So due to interaction with the zinc finger proteins of a DNA in the nucleus, there is a transcriptional change. That a transcriptional changes leads to production of mRNA. That mRNA gives the proteins, especially the proteins which increase testosterone function. So because of the testosterone function, what is happening here? The cellular changes like a formation of gonads as well as development of secondary sexual characters in the males. Development of secondary sexual characters in the males. So this is a signal transduction of a nuclear receptor with example of testosterone. The testosterone is also known as androgen. Okay. And after that, next we are moving to the examples of the nuclear receptors. So as you know, mostly in the competitive exams, they will ask regarding the examples. So what is the example of ion channel receptors? What are the examples under G protein coupled receptors? What are the examples under enzyme linked receptors? What are the examples under nuclear receptors? Okay, not only examples, they can ask questions from any points of the receptors. But you have to understand with reason why these are called as like, why it is happening like this, like that. You have to understand with reason, then it will be enter into your blood brain barrier. Nothing but the concept. Okay, so next the important thing is examples of the nuclear receptors. The examples of the nuclear receptors are categorized into three classes. The first class is the endocrine hormones. Endocrine hormones are comes under the class 1. All these endocrine hormones are steroidal compound. All these steroidal compound. As you know, all steroids are commonly containing cyclopentanoperhydrophenanthrene. Cyclopentanoperhydrophenanthrene. So steroidal molecules are generally containing cyclopentanoperhydrophenanthrene. So all these steroidal hormones like testosterone, estrogen, glucocorticoids, aldosterone, as well as progesterone, all these are steroidal in nature. They bind to the nuclear receptors for their biological action. Next, class 2 is paroxysmal proliferative activated receptor. The full form is paroxysmal proliferative activated receptor. In this, again, two types, PPAR alpha as well as PPAR gamma. So this PPAR alpha is a binding site for the anti-hyperlipidemics like fibrates, and the PPAR gamma is a binding site for the anti-diabetic drugs like pioglitazone, proglitazone, ceoglitazone, rosiglitazone. So like this also they will ask the questions. PPAR gamma receptor is a binding site for anti-diabetics, especially glitazones like pioglitazone, ceoglitazone, proglitazone, rosiglitazone. And PPAR alpha is the binding site for anti-hyperlipidemics. The drugs will reduce the excess lipids in the body. That is fibrates like benzafibrate, clofibrate. And next, class 3 examples like vitamin A and D as well as thyroid hormones. So these are the examples. So like this, you can easily remember the receptor pharmacology. So it is very, very important. You have to understand receptor pharmacology. Based on that only, you can understand receptor action in the ANS as well as CNS like that. Okay, so this is our total receptor pharmacology. This is a part 4 regarding nuclear receptors and remaining discussion of remaining receptors. Please go through our previous videos like part 1, 2, 3 of receptor pharmacology. Thank you.